Hey friends, Ash here, WAT News, with some more election update. It's November the 25th, 2020. This article caught my eye coming out of the Epoch Times. Thousands in Georgia registered at postal commercial addresses, portraying them as residences, researcher says, by Peter Svab. Thousands of people registered and voted in Georgia using addresses of postal facilities or businesses, but making it look like they were residential addresses, according to a former Trump campaign official whose team analyzed the state's voter data. The addresses listed on the voter rolls included information that didn't make sense for the actual locations, but on paper made the addresses look like residential ones. According to information published by Matt Brainerd, former data and strategy director for President Donald Trump's 2016 election campaign. Quote, Georgia, we have identified over 1,000 early absentee votes cast by individuals whose registered addresses are in fact at post offices, UPS, and FedEx locations, willfully disguising the box numbers as apartment, unit, etc., he said in a November 22nd tweet. Excuse me. He published a sample of 15 such address entries in a November 24th tweet. Quote, with just a partial review of the state, he said, the team also discovered 1,000 votes cast by those registered in non-residential, purely commercial addresses also disguised with apartment, etc. He added that these were, quote, the residential addresses, not mailing addresses, unquote, that the voters have listed. Nearly all those who disguised the postal facility as their residential address used an absentee ballot to vote, he said. Georgia election law says that the residence of any person shall be held to be in that place in which such person's habitation is fixed, without any present intention of removing therefrom, unquote. Anyone who, quote, knowingly gives false information when registering as an elector can be charged with a felony and put in prison for up to 10 years or fined up to $100,000, the law says. The Office of Georgia Secretary of State didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. Trump trailed his opponent, former Vice President Joe Biden, by less than 13,000 votes in Georgia. Other findings. Brainerd's team also found some 1,400 voters in Pennsylvania listing postal facility addresses as residential, he said. Brainerd previously reported that large percentages of registered Republicans in several battleground states said they returned their absentee ballots, even though the state's data indicated they didn't. Of the 1,137 Pennsylvania GOP voters reached on the phone who did request a ballot, nearly 42% said they mailed the ballots back, but the state data shows the ballots weren't received or counted, he said. The Office of the Pennsylvania Secretary of State didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. In Arizona, 50% of Republican voters reached over the phone had the same story, as well as 44% in Georgia, nearly 33% in Michigan, and 20% in Wisconsin. In Pennsylvania, over 160,000 uncounted mail-in ballots were requested by or in the name of registered Republicans. If the voters the team reached in the state reflect the broader population of voters, it would mean nearly 40,000 of them returned their ballots, or at least believe they did, according to the sworn affidavit of Stephen Miller, mathematics professor at Williams College. Brainerd said he'll soon publish a white paper on his findings. So that's really interesting, because if that's true, then that means that people, you were taking Republican ballots, the allegation is, and not turning them in when they were sent back to you, either destroying them or getting rid of them in some other way. We don't know yet, but that's a pretty strong allegation, and you have multiple states now that claim is being made from the research that this researcher did. I thought this was also interesting. Getting back to Arizona for a sec. Sidney Powell alleges that in Arizona, quote, there were 35,000 votes given to every Democrat candidate just to start the voting off. Sidney Powell drops a Moab on Arizona Democrats could flip the state by Jim Hoft, November the 24th. And there's a video here, so let's check it out. Sidney Powell's about to release the Kraken. We know that the Kraken is possibly the Cray computer, right? I also heard something else. What was the other thing I heard about the Kraken? Sorry, guys. Um, Forgot. I'll get back to that other Kraken thing in a second. I thought there was another angle to that. Uh, Sidney Powell, 35,000 votes were added, she's claiming. We've got one witness that says in Arizona, at least, there were 35,000 votes added to every Democratic candidate just to start their voting off. Let's watch this, Sidney Powell.
Joining us tonight by phone is Sidney Powell, defense attorney for General Michael Flynn, former federal prosecutor herself, and a great American. Sidney, great to have you with us. Let's start with the ownership of these voting firms. I know you're focusing on that part of the electoral fraud that's been perpetrated this year in this election. Why don't we know who they are?
Well, because they've used multiple shell companies and now apparently private equity groups to hide their actual ownership. But there's no doubt that the software was created and used in Venezuela to control the elections and make sure that Hugo Chavez was always reelected as the dictator of Venezuela in what appeared to be, quote, free and fair elections, end quote. But they were manipulated by the software used in the Dominion machines and used by other machines in the United States, frankly. And we are just continuing to be inundated by evidence of all the frauds here in every manner and means of fraud you could possibly think of.
I think many Americans have given no thought to electoral fraud that would be perpetrated through electronic voting. That is, these machines, these electronic voting companies, including Dominion, prominently Dominion, at least in the suspicions of a lot of Americans. We don't even know who has actually seen this software work. We don't know where their servers are for sure. We know a couple of them are overseas, and by overseas I mean in Germany and Spain. It's just stunning that we have progressed this far with these companies and have permitted these entities that we don't know what their ownership is, we don't know what their possible bias is. How could this be?
Because of all the corruption in the country, we need to find a way to follow the money back as far even as when this was approved by the special government committee called CFIUS, CFIUS, which are the heads of the respective agencies at the time who approved Dominion coming into the country and running our elections. And I mean, Carolyn Maloney and Klobuchar and Warren have been raising Cain about this issue for a long time.
Right.
But nobody's done anything about it.
As last year.
Yeah, and as best I can tell, both parties have any number of people who are at fault in the fact that this has continued to play any role in our elections whatsoever, and we have no idea who all has benefited from it. Somebody needs to do a massive money following investigation to find out who paid what to whom.
Well, you have promised a Kraken will be unleashed. We were expecting perhaps your suit would be filed yesterday or today. When shall we expect your lawsuit?
Well, I think no later than tomorrow. It's just going to be, it's a massive document, and it's going to have a lot of exhibits.
And who will be the defendant or defendants?
The defendants are going to be folks in Georgia who are responsible for supposedly making sure the elections in Georgia are done properly. And there are just countless incidents of voter fraud and election fraud writ large in Georgia.
In Georgia, are you planning any other suits beyond Georgia?
Yes, we are. We'll be rolling them out as fast as we possibly can, because it affected the entire country, actually. We even have an affidavit now from a distant state that's done by one of the election officials in the state, telling us all the things that person witnessed as being wrong there. So it was nationwide.
Well, the number of affidavits is voluminous now, The eyewitnesses are considerable. Your thoughts now about what will be the impact, and can it be adjudicated in such a way as to meet all of the deadlines that are forced upon you? That is December 8th, December 14th. Give us your sense of the timing and the urgency of getting this to resolution.
Yes, well, obviously it couldn't be more urgent, but yes, the time deadlines should be able to be met, and the evidence is so overwhelming, it's almost as though they were so blatant about it, they expected us to catch it, and, maybe it's a diversion from something else that's going on. I don't know, but it's also clear that there was foreign intrusion into our voting systems, and that's going to be where the rubber meets the road.
A person that I hold in high regard, who's been at various points in this political conflict over the last 4 years, said the difference this year in the political corruption and the pervasive nature of it is that he believes the left doesn't even care. The radical Dems, the deep state, don't even care whether we find out what we know. And I thought about it, and I think he may be that may be well considered. Your thoughts?
Yes, I agree. I mean, that's exactly how blatant it is, and all kinds of it are equally blatant. I mean, people sitting on the floor and writing on the side of buses, filling out ballot after ballot. It's in your face everywhere. The statistical evidence is insurmountable. The mathematical evidence is to mathematical impossibilities. There's no way there was anything but widespread election fraud here. We've got one witness that says in Arizona, at least there were 35,000 votes added to every Democratic candidate just to start their voting off. It's like getting your $500 of monopoly money to begin with when you haven't done anything. And it was only for Democrats.
Do you think that we're going to see the Trump presidency saved?
Yes, I definitely do. There's no issue in my mind but that he was elected in an absolute landslide nationwide.
Sidney Powell, thanks for being with us. We appreciate it. Thanks so much.
So that's an interesting interview. I'm of a similar opinion. I think Trump's going to win this. I think that I don't know how it's going to play out exactly, but I can't gameplay it. There's too many moving pieces, right? But it's starting to appear that there's problems in so many states, right? This is out of Life News. Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Arizona legislatures will hold hearings on election fraud. This was from November 24th by Stephen Ertelt. 3 state legislatures will hold hearings on election fraud after all 3 states came under fire for potential election fraud and illegal voting that President Donald Trump's campaign says was problematic in the 2020 presidential election. The Donald J. Trump for President campaign legal team announced that the state legislatures in Pennsylvania, Arizona, and Michigan will hold public hearings on the election beginning tomorrow and next week in an effort to provide confidence that all of the legal votes have been counted and the illegal votes have not been counted in the November 3rd election. The first hearing held by the Pennsylvania State Senate will be conducted tomorrow, Wednesday, November the 25th, which is today, in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. And I heard that Trump is going there, actually, so we'll see how that works out, where each participating senator will give a 5-minute opening statement followed by testimony from witnesses who have filed affidavits attesting to 2020 election fraud. Tomorrow's hearing will also feature a presentation from former New York City Mayor and personal attorney to President Trump, Rudy Giuliani. On Monday, November 30th, the Arizona legislature will hold their own hearing, followed by the Michigan legislature holding their own hearing on Tuesday, December the 1st. Details for both hearings to follow. It's in everyone's interest to have a full vetting of election irregularities and fraud, said Mayor Giuliani, and the only way to do this is with public hearings, complete with witnesses, videos, pictures, and other evidence of illegalities from the November 3rd election. And then it goes on. So I'll include this in the links. Just thought that was an interesting thing. There's going to be some hearings. There will be evidence that will be shown in those hearings, so we'll see how that plays out. Also, out of Nevada, a judge agrees to hear Trump campaign evidence of alleged voter fraud. Also, that hearing is set for December the 3rd. And there's a brief video here. Let's watch this. Steve Cortez and the articles by Sophie Mann coming out of Just the News. Excuse me, guys.
We know that historically, even before this election, most polling shows that about 10% of non-citizens who are in the United States, many of them are here legally, they're just not citizens, they're here on green cards or whatever, tourist visas, student visas, and so forth. We know that between both legal and illegal non-citizens who are in the United States, and it's not a small number, I believe it's about 50 million people, it's certainly north of 40 million, that 10% of them historically tell us that they have voted. Now, if they themselves say they have voted, I have no reason to doubt them that they did in fact vote. So we're talking about a substantial number of people, potentially millions of people who vote in these elections. I think it is furthermore logical for us to project that those people would overwhelmingly vote for Joe Biden. Why? Well, because he has promised amnesty.
All right, so that was a brief thing on there. And that's all I got right now, guys. They never gave Trump the votes that he supposedly got in Arizona to make it closer. I just thought this was an interesting article, though, out of Epoch Times. If this is going on in multiple states and you have a close race, maybe a couple thousand votes difference, it could turn the tide, right? There's all these things going on. And I think what's going to end up happening is that also, I did that article about Mark Elias. I posted some video about that a little while back. Did Mark Elias reach some kind of an agreement with someone within the Georgia legislature, right? Was a secret deal set up that the Georgia legislature never signed on to, and was the way the absentee or ballots or other ballots changed somehow without the legislature's knowledge. That's going to be part of what's going on. And Lynn Wood is also involved in Georgia. So you have Lynn Wood and Sidney Powell both are doing stuff in Georgia right now. So that's looking like Georgia has quite a bit of problems, and that's just my opinion. So with that, guys, I'll leave the video right there. I'll put the article links in the video, and anything major breaks. We're expecting to hear Sidney Powell will file a lawsuit in Georgia today at some point, but I haven't heard that yet. And if anything major breaks, we'll be back with you guys. All right. I appreciate you watching my videos, and this is Ash, WAT News, signing off.